Welcome. I'm Bev Adams. I'm an independent demonstrator with Stampin' Up. This is the card I would like to show you today. It uses Fairy Celebration, and when I saw that in the catalog, I knew I had to have it for my granddaughter. My cardstock is Thick Whisper White, 5.5 by 8.5, scored at 4 1/4. I have a piece of Balmy Blue that is 5 1/4 by 4, a piece of Sparkle Glimmer paper which is 2 1/2 by 4, a piece of Mango Melody which is 2 1/4 by 3 3/4, and a piece of glossy white cardstock that is 2 by 3 1/2. I'll be using the StazOn Jet Black ink, Crumb Cake, Lemon Lime Twist, Mango Melody, and Balmy Blue. I'm going to stamp the fairy in the StazOn. Be sure and save this part for your StazOn so the ink stays wet. This image is just a little bit larger than the glimmer paper. Nice. But I do want to let it set for just a minute. StazOn dries very quickly, but especially on that glossy paper, it needs just a little bit extra time. I'm going to stamp Happy Birthday, May Your Dreams Come True in the very tip-top right corner of the Balmy Blue. And then I'm going to stamp the greeting, All It Takes Is Love, Trust, and a little bit of fairy dust. Stamp that on the inside of the card. And then I think all my StazOn is stamped. My little fairy dust stamp fell off, but that's because I had not cleaned the stamp and the block with just a microfiber cloth that I get from my eye doctor. But I think you can get those at like drugstores and so forth. And I'm going to use Balmy Blue to stamp some sparkles. And how many sparkles you stamp, that's totally up to you. I want to add a little extra sparkle, so I'm going to set the Wink of Stella cap down on my cardstock, and I'm just going to tap, kind of like it was a drumstick, right on the cap, and that lets go of a little extra sparkle. And I'm going to do that same thing all over around the outside edge of this blue. Oh, I got quite a bit there. That's just fine. How much? Ooh, that looks sparkly. I hope you can see that on the camera. I'm checking to see if this is dry. I don't want to check with my fingers, so I don't want to wiggle it around, and I see that there's still some ink here, so I'm going to let this dry just a little bit longer. While that's drying, I'm going to pick up some of the ink for coloring. And some of my inks are messy on the inside. In the past, I've squeezed my stamp pads to get ink on the inside, and I saw the greatest idea. I wish I'd thought of it. I'm going to be using this ink to color with, and I really just want to pick some up, and so I'm going to pick up on the corner, and I'm just going to need a tiny bit of Balmy Blue, quite a bit of the Mango Melody, and a tiny bit of green, and you can kind of see it here, and no more mess in my stamp cases. Yay! I'm using a blender pen, and I'm picking up some of the green to color my grass. I was trying this out with an aqua painter, and my aqua painter had alcohol in it, and the alcohol made the StazOn bleed a little bit. The moral of that story is do not use alcohol ink or alcohol instead of water when you're using StazOn, because it dissolves the ink a little bit, which is why you want to use the Memento ink pad when you are using the Stampin' Blends inks. And you could certainly use the Stampin' Blends for coloring. I just didn't have the colors I wanted, and so I'm just using blender pens. And I'm going to just kind of color in the whole grass area down here. And when you're done with the color, just tip the pen on the side and scribble until it comes clear. And I want to find my blue and use just the lightest little bit of blue for the wings. And I just realized I wanted to do that with the Wink of Stella, but I do just want a little tiny bit of blue because I want sparkly wings. Oh, that's better. And again, you can tip that on the side, and I wanted to have sparkly flowers. And I am picking up more of the ink for the flowers. And this really looks very pretty on the glossy paper. Switching back to the blender pen, making sure that there's no color on here. And again, I just want to get just a tiny bit of ink to color in the toadstool. And this is the crumb cake I'm using. Whenever I pick up new ink here, I'm going to go to a place where I want it a little darker, just in case I pick up too much ink. And then when it's nice and light, I want to color her face and her neck and her arms. And of course, you could use darker if you want darker skin for your fairy. And then picking up more color to color in the dots. Then I think I'm going to switch back to the Wink of Stella for her shirt. And you might want to have two shades, so maybe a little bit lighter on her shirt and a little darker for her skirt, or whatever you want. You could, of course, switch out the colors altogether. And I do want to color her hair, and I can use the crumb cake for that, to have brown hair. And I'll put those inks away. Now you want to just rinse this off while it's wet. If you let this dry on here, it might take a little extra scrubbing, but I would use something gentle like a microfiber cloth. Time to assemble my card, so I'm just going to add some adhesive. This is adhesive of your choice. Put that on my Mango Melody. Use some dimensionals to attach it to the glimmer paper. This new glimmer paper is wonderful because the glitter doesn't come off, and so using adhesive on it is much easier. Thank you, Stampin' Up. Just adding a little bit of this tulle, and I just need enough to wrap across the front. Little adhesive on the sides. And this has a little bit of sparkle to it too, so it's really got a lot of subtle sparkle on this card. Add a little more adhesive to put this on the card front. And now I can adhere this. Want to be sure that there's room for that greeting. And that's it. I really hope you can see the sparkle in this card on the video. If you would like directions for this card, come on over to bevadams.com. I'll have the direct link for you right here on the video. If you're watching on YouTube, it will also be in the description below. Talk to you soon. Bye.